Hi, it's Melanie Benson here, host of New Era Success TV and America's leading authority on optimum performance. And if you're an entrepreneur that has had the experience where your marketing has been working brilliantly and all of a sudden it stops and it's starting to feel a heck of a lot like the Sahara Desert, then you'll want to pay close attention. This episode is going to give you some really important details and a strategy to help you turn this around. Now, if you're like most entrepreneurs, we have been told very early on that the key to success is being able to do enough marketing to get a flood of ideal clients who can find us, or we can find them, and help them make a great decision to invest in our programs, products, and services, right? Well, what happens if you've spent a lot of time and money probably investing in that perfect marketing sequence and this great conversion process, and all of a sudden you find out it stopped working? A lot like a faucet that might be going full bore and all this water's coming and you're filling up your buckets over and over and over again, and then all of a sudden it slows down to a drip. Like that annoying kitchen sink or the bathroom sink that goes drip, drip, drip. And you're thinking to yourself, what happened to my flow? This used to be so easy. Or maybe you've never been able to figure out how to get it off the ground. All those things that you saw other people doing just aren't working for you. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to recently who are really struggling with getting ideal clients in the door. And as a matter of fact, I've shared quite often that I went through a really rough patch myself. It was as dry as the Sahara Desert in my business at one point, and it took a few things to figure it out. But once I figured out some simple tweaks and some really easy things to do differently to get my flow turned back on, then it was like magic again, and that's what we're all looking for. But interestingly enough, once I came out of the closet and told people I'd struggled with it for a while and found some ways to turn that flow back on, a lot of other entrepreneurs started coming to me and saying, Melanie, I'm having that same problem. Can you help me? So I'm starting a new mastermind group next week where I'm taking them into the process of how to thrive in this new era of entrepreneurship. And I asked them, I said, what's your single greatest question? What's the biggest challenge you're facing right now that you want my help with? And overwhelmingly, I think it was like 98% of the people in the program said, Melanie, I need help being able to activate that flow. I want to have more of my ideal clients coming in the door who are willing to pay what I know I want to charge, what I deserve. So when this happens to you, you're going to need to know what to do. So I'm going to take you through the very same process that I use when I'm coaching and mentoring a client, an entrepreneur, who's feeling that stuck flow of ideal clients in their life. So it's a 4-point process. And then I'm going to teach you one of the things that I teach them and that I personally use to really transform that stuck faucet, the faucet that's dried up, and get that flow back again. And so I'm typically looking at one of 4 areas, and I do a whole diagnostic process with my client to really uncover what is really going on. Because on the surface, it can look one way, but when you get underneath it, there could be something completely different going on. And the first thing that I look at is, are you in plain vanilla mode? Are you blending in to a sea of competitors? Now, depending on your industry and how you're marketing your particular offering, this could be something that's really big for you. In particular, coaches, online marketers, and there are some specific niches like weight loss and health and fitness, social media marketing, a lot of the consulting areas where if you're not careful, you'll blend in and just turn into a sea of noise to your ideal client because they don't know who you are. So when I'm looking at are you blending in, I'm evaluating, is your offer or positioning too generic? So you're trying to be everything to everybody and they can't tell if what you do will work for them, or they can't even tell what it is you really do. This is huge for a lot of success coaches, business coaches, life coaches. We start to sound like everybody else, and I've definitely battled that one. So what you have to do is you have to go back and you have to find your hook. Or you have to look at the niche that you're focusing on. You have to find out a way to stand out and be noticed. Oftentimes, this is where you've got to re-access your creativity and innovation and turn up what you think is obvious to you or sorry, what's obvious to you and you think everyone else should see as obvious as well. This is where we have to access our genius factors. When I did the Big Idea Incubator last year, this was one of the shocking places that most people had completely been in a blind spot. They didn't realize how much they blended in because they just didn't know how to articulate their message. There's this amazing woman that I'm working with that has a unique concept that she uses, and it's a very specific technology to get rapid change, particularly with pervasive, persistent, chronic problems that people are suffering from, especially highly emotional, like relationship problems and financial problems and physical pain problems. The problem was, it wasn't that she didn't have a great program, it was that she was blending in and people didn't really get what she did because her language didn't make sense. And so that leads me to the second place that I'm evaluating with my clients is, does your sales material give the buyer, give the prospect a proper approach so they can say yes? Now, there's two different places we have to look at. We have to look at your marketing materials. And if you're typically marketing online, this is a really, really big place that most people screw up. And that's a whole unique thing in itself. But sometimes just the way we take the person from interest to the buying conversation can be completely out of sorts. And we're not necessarily building up what we need the most. A good friend of mine, Adam Urbanski, he is a specialist in the enrollment conversation. And one of the things that he's worked with me on at times is how to tweak and refine my enrollment conversation, my process that I use to help people make a really powerful decision to work with me or not. Because that's really what you're getting them to is, are you going to make the investment or buy the product or not? And so depending on the level of price that this person is going to invest in your work, your sales process has to match the level of investment and the level of confusion they have about buying what you offer. So that's the second point. Does your sales material and your marketing process give the person the right opportunity to say yes? Third, and this one is really big today because so many people have started to get into the what we might call the mindset, the illusion that everybody should be online. Well, yes, you need to have an online presence, but that doesn't mean that the way to sell what you're offering is through online mechanisms. So the biggest concern I have is who's your target audience and where are they looking for you? And if you're trying to use online methods because you've seen other people do them, but your target audience isn't online or they aren't in a particular social media platform, but you're spending a lot of time there, you're going to have a mismatch. So the point number 3 that I look at is your approach going to help the client that you're trying to attract find you? And this is the most common mistake is that you're using online methodology to attract a client who's not really online, or they're not necessarily going to respect or explore options online. Maybe they're going to be doing word of mouth, or they're going to look at advertisements, or they're going to do Google searches, or maybe they're going to be looking in the yellow pages, which isn't that often. Or it could be that you really have to make personal connections in order to get your work out there. It could be that the best way to move your message to marketplace is that you've got to speak and not necessarily do telesummits. Honestly, that's another area that I think is way overused. Teleseminars, telesummits, they might be great for lead generation, but they aren't always great for the sale. And you have to understand the positioning of the price point of your product and make sure, again, that it's the right mechanism to get someone to yes. So that's number 3. Is it the right audience but the wrong approach? And speaking of right audience, this leads me to the most often found issue. And it's number 4. Are your marketing materials engaging to your hungry audience? And what I mean by that is that oftentimes people think that they're hitting the nail on the head with their marketing message because it makes perfect sense to them, but it doesn't make sense and it's not necessarily engaging their ideal client. And the biggest reason why is they don't know who their ideal client is. Here is the most common response I get when I say to my marketplace, who's your marketplace? Who is your target client? Who is that one person? And they'll say, well, It could be someone who's 20 to 65 years old. They're either employed or they have a job, and they have like 17 million different problems. And what we're really uncovering here is that you don't know who your target audience really is. And by the way, this is the single most common issue. I suffered from it. Everybody suffers from it. If you don't know specifically who the person is that's going to buy your product, your service, or your program, then you're going to try and sell to everybody. And what happens is you can't, because they don't feel like you get them in any of the materials you're developing. They'll go, oh, that's nice, but they won't say yes. The most successful marketers on the planet know specifically who their target audience is, to the degree to which they can tell you exactly who that person is, what they read, where they live, how many children they have, if they have any at all, the kind of profession they're in, what they wear, what they drink. They understand their psychology. Now, you might think to yourself, this is stupid. What I do works for everybody. Why would I want to limit it? Because here's why. Everybody isn't actually buying what you have. As a matter of fact, nobody is right now, are they? If you're struggling to get sales in the door. So aren't you willing to try something different here? So here's my suggestion. Create a profile for who your target audience is. Now, if you don't know how to do this, there's lots of great support out there. We do it in the Big Idea Incubator system. You can get a coach to help you with it. You can get a branding expert. There's a lot of different ways to do it. But you've got to get it clear, because everything else I'm about to teach you depends on you knowing who is that hungry market that wants what you have. I used to hear this all the time from my marketing buddies. They're like, well, who's your hungry audience? And I'm like, entrepreneurs, online business owners, people who are trying to make more money. Yeah, but who specifically? Because here is I want to give you an exercise that I give my clients that I find to be extraordinarily helpful in teaching them how to get more sales coming in the door. And yeah, it might seem a little obvious, but it's not. Because when we're trying to market to everybody, or we don't have that unique niche, or we don't really know who our audience is, what we're missing is, and I trademarked this process, called Marketability Factors. If you don't know this important piece I'm about to teach you, then you'll miss out on a lot of great opportunity, not just to make sales, but to really make that impact and have the legacy I know you want to have. Because if you're, wanting to thrive in the new era, we all feel this feeling. We're being pulled towards wanting to make a bigger difference on this planet. So here's how it works, and I'm showing you a little picture here that I have when I guide people through this process. And it's like a bullseye. And in the middle, the smallest string in the middle, I call it the sweet spot level. This is the level at which the ideal client has a need or a problem that they want solved, and they're actively seeking a solution. So let's take an example of that. Oh, one more thing. Not only are they actively seeking a solution, but the only question in their mind is who exactly is going to help them. When people take my Big Idea Evaluator, I ask them right up front, are you actively looking for a mentor, or are you just looking for more information? And 9 out of 10 people will say, I'm actively looking for a mentor to guide me, and I'm choosing between a few different mentors. So I know they're already bought into the idea they need a coach or a mentor. They just are deciding which one do they feel most connected to and feel like has the experience to guide them. That's what you're looking for. Someone who knows they have the problem, they're just looking for what is the right solution. Now, in the sweet spot level, this is where you can target your message, and you can absolutely refine your marketing and your sales conversation to this specific person with the problem or the need, and they're actively ready. That means they already know they're going to invest. They already have decided that this is important to them. But see, here's the problem. Most of us don't realize it. So we're trying to market to everyone inside this model. And let me tell you why this is a problem. If we get to the second layer, the second ring is what I call the nurture level. This is the person who has the problem. They have a need, but they don't realize there's a solution out there, or they don't realize that they can fix it, or they don't know how to fix it. They're not looking for the solution yet. Or maybe on some level they believe they can't afford the solution, so they've dismissed it. So this person has the problem, has the need, but they require education and nurturing to get that they want a solution to it. Here's an example. I coach and mentor people all the time on how to use the dream team method to create more time, to get more done, to be able to grow their income. But the problem is the person's overwhelmed, exhausted, and depleted, and they don't necessarily have a way to grow in their mind. So they don't know that a team is the solution for them, but they, on some level, know they have the problem. So it requires me educating them that leverage and building a team is a way to solve that problem. Another thing that you might look at is somebody who is overweight. If you're in the weight loss business or in the fitness business, they're overweight, or maybe they're just a little slightly off their game physically. They know they want to feel better. They know they want to have more energy. They know they want to look better in their clothes, but they don't really know that eating better would work for them. So it's your job to educate them that they need to eat better, or they need to do a certain routine, or whatever your protocol is, in order to teach them that you have a solution to their problem. So that's the middle ring. Now, the third ring is what I call the oblivious level. And this outer ring is the most misunderstood and often the most complicated reason why we're not making money and we're not getting clients in the door. And that is because we're marketing to people that have the problem, but they're oblivious to the fact that they have the problem. They don't even realize it's a problem. They're so used to this problem, they have accepted it as a condition of life. And this is huge for people, that at least in my business, that are overachievers, that are constantly pushing and driving themselves. They're sick, they're tired, they're exhausted, they're at the end of their rope, but they just think this is normal because they were brought up in the world of you work hard to get your results. Or it could be someone who is suffering in a marriage or a relationship that is just extraordinarily painful for them. They don't even know that a relationship could be really rewarding and powerful. They don't even know that they could learn how to have amazing intimacy and conversation. They've been putting up with it for so long, or it's what they grew up with, and they're oblivious to it being better. So not only are they unconscious and they don't realize there's a solution, but they don't want one. They are just that place in their life where everything else is more important. And so they're probably going to take years, if ever, to say yes. Now, a really painful example of this would be on the other end of the spectrum for therapists and people who have quality of life programs, somebody who's an alcoholic who just thinks that's normal and there's no problem. So they recognize there's no problem in their life. So they're not a good candidate, but yet on some level, you're beating yourself up trying to get to them. You're doing everything you can to try and change them and attract them because you know they have the problem. They don't want a solution to the problem. They don't think it's a problem. They think it's how life is. So the big distinction between the middle ring and the outer ring is one of them knows they have the problem and they want a solution. They just don't think they can have it, or they're not ready for it, or they have a lot of barriers in their life. The outer ring people, the oblivious level, they don't even think they have a problem. They don't see the problem. So they're not a good candidate for your program, so stop marketing to them. Now here's the really funny part. Now you see the big box around this model? That's everyone else. Those are all the people that don't have the problem. They don't have the problem, but you're still marketing to them. You still think on some level everybody's a candidate. And if you're marketing to people that don't have your problem or don't have your need, the best case scenario, they might be able to refer people to you when they run across somebody who has this connection or needs what you have. But it's a lot of work. And the only time you want to focus on that outer ring is if they're a center of influence for people who do have the problem. And they're doing the education for you and telling them they have the problem. So the only part of the box that you want to focus on is cultivating your center of influence relationships. And that's a whole other lesson in video. That's part of my partnering process that I teach. So I hope this has given you some insight into why you are stuck with your flow. Now, there's a lot of different things we can do to turn the flow back on. And if you're really struggling with this, I hope you will take advantage of a free offer I have to do a big idea evaluation for you. This is a really easy and simple way for you to get a jump start. And you fill it out, and I'll tell you what might be your next steps. It's up to you if you want to take them or not. I'll help you create the breakthrough that you're looking for. So the link is down there on the bottom for you. You check it out, see if it works for you. But most importantly, let's get that cash flow turned back on. I have a number of programs that work, including my Money DNA and my Success DNA programs, to help you turn the flow of cash, flow of clients, and flow of impact and fun back on in your life. This is Melanie Benson Strick, host of New Era Success TV. Hope you've enjoyed this week's episode. I'd love to hear your comments of what you can put into action right away. Bye for now.